I was born and raised in a small town just outside Cebu City in the Philippines. My earliest memories are filled with Sunday mornings, the smell of garlic fried rice wafting from the kitchen, the feel of my mother's gentle hands brushing my hair as the sound of church bells echoed across our sleepy neighborhood. For us, Catholicism wasn't just a religion, it was our identity, woven into every aspect of life. My family, my friends, even the shopkeepers and school principal's very one lived within that same rhythm. The crucifix above the dining table, the rosary beads worn thin from nightly prayers, the vibrant festivals in honor of saints, these weren't just symbols, they were life itself. I was the eldest of 4 children, expected to lead by example. People called me the responsible one, the steady hand. I accepted that role, even when it weighed heavily on my shoulders. At our Catholic high school, we studied the Bible, sang hymns, and rehearsed morality plays during Lent. I took it all in. I loved the music, the community, the quiet reverence. But even as a child, I had questions that whispered louder as I grew older. Why do we pray to saints instead of directly to God? I would ask. If Jesus is God, why did he pray to God? Teachers would give gentle smiles and say, "Some things, Hija, we accept through faith." I tried to tuck the questions away, like loose threads, but they pulled at me in quiet moments when I lay in bed staring at the crucifix, or sat quietly after confession, wondering if I had truly been forgiven. Our house was small but warm, tucked between lush banana trees and hibiscus shrubs. The walls were painted a fading yellow, and the tin roof would hum when it rained. My father worked long hours as a mechanic, often coming home with oil-stained hands and a tired smile. My mother, a homemaker, was the heart of our family. She cooked, cleaned, and held everything together. We weren't rich, but we had enough, and the sense of community in our neighborhood made us feel wealthy in ways money couldn't measure. During Holy Week, we would join the town procession, candles in hand, walking barefoot as a form of sacrifice. I believed, I really did, but deep inside, something always felt incomplete, like a story half told or a question left unanswered. In school, I was the kind who always followed rules. I participated in school plays, sang in the choir, and represented my class in academic competitions. But behind the trophies and perfect attendance, I was curious, painfully so. I would sit in the back pew of the church and wonder if God really lived behind the golden tabernacle, or if there was something more, something beyond the rituals. These weren't rebellious thoughts. They were quiet, aching questions I never dared to ask aloud. College was a turning point. I got into a university in Manila to study nursing. Moving away from my little town, away from my family and our deeply Catholic community, was both freeing and frightening. Suddenly, I was surrounded by diversity in thought, culture, and belief. Among the new faces, I met Muslim students from Mindanao. They carried themselves with grace, modesty, and a grounded peace that stood out in the bustling chaos of college life. I became especially close to a girl named Aina. She wore a hijab, and I initially assumed she must be extremely conservative or reserved. But she turned out to be warm, funny, brilliant, and profoundly thoughtful. Our friendship blossomed over late-night study sessions, shared snacks, and deep conversations about faith, purpose, and identity. I asked her many things about God, about the prophets, about why Muslims don't eat pork or drink alcohol. Her answers weren't defensive. They were calm, logical, and rooted in love for her faith. One night, walking back from the library, I asked her why she wore the hijab. Her answer was disarmingly simple. Because God asked me to, and when you love someone, you try to do what pleases them not out of fear, but out of love. Her words stayed with me, turning in my mind over and over. That was the first time I'd heard obedience to God described as an act of love and not duty. Not tradition, not fear, love. After graduation, I got a job offer in Dubai. It felt surreal. A chance to support my family, live in a new place, and grow. My parents were proud but anxious. My mother cried at the airport, clutching her rosary, asking Mama Mary to protect me. My younger siblings hugged me tight, and my father reminded me to stay true to myself. Dubai was like stepping into another world. Skyscrapers beside desert dunes, the call to prayer echoing across glass and sand. I remember the first time I heard the adhan. It was dawn, and I was on the balcony of my small apartment. The haunting beauty of that sound froze me in place. I had goosebumps. I didn't understand the words, but I felt them deep in my chest. At work, I was surrounded by colleagues from all over the Muslim world: Pakistan, Egypt, Sudan, Indonesia. They were respectful, diligent, kind, and many of the women wore the hijab not as a burden, but as a badge of honor. They radiated strength and calmness that I began to envy. I found myself watching, wondering, comparing their sense of purpose to the hollow routine I had felt for years. That's when I met Mariama, fellow Filipina and a revert to Islam. She had converted years ago and was married to a Pakistani engineer. Her story drew me in. She wasn't brainwashed or pressured. She had sought truth and found Islam. She said, "Before, I prayed to statues and saints. Now I pray directly to the Creator. It changed everything." She handed me an English translation of the Quran. I accepted it politely and tucked it away in my drawer. Weeks passed. Then one night, overwhelmed with homesickness and unable to sleep, I pulled it out and opened to a random page. Indeed, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. Quran 13:28. Those words struck me deeply. I had been restless for so long, going through routines, checking off boxes, trying to be good enough, responsible enough. But this verse spoke directly to that ache inside the part of me that longed for meaning. I began reading more. Slowly, secretly, in the quiet of my apartment, page after page, I found clarity where before there had been confusion. The Quran didn't talk down to me or demand blind faith. It asked me to think, to reflect, to seek knowledge. It taught that God is one, without partners, that He is near, closer than our jugular vein. Learning about Tawheed, the oneness of God, was like breathing clean air after years of fog. I didn't need intermediaries. I didn't need rituals. I didn't fully understand. All I needed was sincerity and a direct relationship with my Creator. I started watching lectures, often crying along with the speakers who described the same yearning, the same journey I was on. I learned about the prophets, the day of judgment, the mercy of Allah. I fasted during some days of Ramadan, not because anyone told me to, but because I wanted to understand. I began practicing the prayers in secret, mimicking the motions I saw online. Each time I prayed, it felt like a conversation with someone who had always been waiting for me. One night, after months of searching, I sat on my prayer mat, the Quran open beside me, and I whispered the Shahada. Then I said it again, louder this time, through tears. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is His messenger. In that moment, I felt something lift, like a weight I didn't even know I was carrying. I cried not out of fear, not from confusion, but from peace, from the sweet, overwhelming relief of finally coming home. I chose the name Khadija. Mariam was the first person I told. She wrapped me in a tight hug and cried with me. Slowly, I began telling others. Some embraced me. Some didn't understand. I haven't yet told my family. I'm waiting for the right moment. But I trust Allah to guide that path too. Islam gave me answers where I had only questions. It gave me serenity where I once felt unsteady. It gave me clarity where I once felt lost. And it gave my life meaning beyond roles and expectations. It gave me Allah. To anyone out there quietly questioning, silently searching, don't ignore the whispers in your heart. Sometimes, those whispers are the voice of your soul calling you home. This is my journey, and it's only just beginning.